Hi, welcome to the Andrew Buckle book review of Atlas Comics Library number 3, In the Days of the Rocket, starring Jet Dixon and Speed Carter. These are science fiction stories, loads of great stories, 11 comics in all in this book, 336 pages, and the price was $49.99. Now I paid £37. I ordered it from the States. Unfortunately, it came with a nice dent in it as well. I love those. I'm not going to send it back. It's just one of those things. Obviously, it's hardback. Nice quality build as ever. Really nice. Though it did crack a few times, I must have opened it, but still. It's part of a series of these Atlas books. There's the first one, which is really good. And there's another one. Venus, which is another one. And also the precursor, Atlas at War. Really worth checking out. They're also bringing out some more stories fairly soon. And also a Joe Manili one, which is great. There's also Al Williamson coming out soon. Police Action is another one. And there's also Sizzling Something. I think it's a horror one. But let's go through this. It's got a real great selection of oddball stories. And it's got some duffo stories as well. Some really good artwork, mainly from Joe Manili, George Tuska, etc. But also some pretty awful artwork. Very sort of average artwork. That's the best way of describing it. Not awful. But you got here all the various people involved. Dr. Michael J. Vaslow. I think it's brilliant what he's been doing, bringing these lovely books out. And of course got Alan Harvey and others. Now the restoration, very light touch. I mean, obviously some work has been done, cleaned it up really nice, but he hasn't turned it into a Marvel omnibus. Hasn't cleaned it up and made it sterile like the Marvel omnibuses, which I like the Marvel omnibuses. Not saying I don't, but I still think it's nice to actually see it. You can see there, it's like the original comic books, but obviously there's been a bit of clean up, tidy up, all that, white pages, so it's very nice. And of course it's bigger than the original comic books, much bigger than that, a little bit bigger. But what it does also include are brilliant contents there. You can see there, obviously I'm showing you Space Squadron 5 and not the first one. There it is, Space Squadron, and it's 1951 all the way through to 1954. And there wasn't a huge number of science fiction comic books that I'm aware of. I mean, obviously, DC produced lots and lots of other companies did. EC did, of course. They didn't last very long. Sadly, these didn't last very long. 11 issues, that was it. But still. And you've got Speed Carter Spaceman there. And the great thing about this, they got all the details about the artists, as well as other people, pencilers there, the covers, and lots more. Lots of great information. And also the titles, sometimes, of course, are guesses, because, of course, they didn't often have titles. They often have something like slightly bigger lettering or something. You think, oh, that must be the title. But short of that, there's no title. The introduction is superb, absolutely brilliant. I really love Dr. Michael J. Vaslow's introductions. They're always great, always fascinating. Learn so much about it. Really worth reading beforehand, maybe, if you want, or do it the other way around. Don't read the introduction until afterwards. I personally prefer to read the introduction, and it just feels that gives so much detail before you go into it. So you know what you're going to get. The quality, as he mentions, does go down here and there. And some of them perks up for me when it's Joe Manili, because Joe Manili's just superb. And I love those ones there. Love to see a book come out with all those. Would be brilliant. It also includes lots of great little panels there. Look at that. Just amazing. And also another one. Lovely panel there. And, of course, this as well. Beyond Mars. Really worth checking that book out. I love this book. However, I sold my copy, so I can't do a review of it. My apologies on that one. Should have done a review. I thought about it, and then I didn't. I got rid of it. Now, I do quite often get rid of books, so sorry. This one, Space Squadron, the first issue, In the Days of the Rockets. Now, it doesn't say Jet Dixon or anything up there, as far as but it does include down the bottom. I always love those little panels at the bottom. Always quite nice. I mean, that's great, isn't it? Just quickly gives you a bit of information about what to expect when you get the comic book. Now, the cover itself is just an average cover. But also, another thing, it doesn't actually have an issue number, which is so odd. I don't know why they did that. Maybe there was a reason. And now, here's some of the artwork. You can see the artwork is not stunning. It is not amazing artwork. Nothing wrong with it, but it's not particularly brilliant. You got Captain Jet Dixon of the Space Squadron, and you can see obviously some of the Star Smasher. Though for somewhere, maybe that is a star. Who knows? But anyways, destroying, soon it will crash into the earth, destroying it and every living mortal. Ho hum. Luckily, that didn't happen. You can guess that. But quite often these issues, of course, just going to point this out, you can get that $1 for the next 12 issues. Unfortunately, it didn't last that long, but still, probably people got Westerns or something afterwards. That would be a real pain, wouldn't it? Invasion for Infinity, of course, they always had these lovely 2 pages. I suspect many people didn't read them, but sometimes they were actually done by some really good writers. So perhaps unfair. Who knows? You know, there's always a famous writer behind on some of these ones. But you can see there some more great little storyline sort of blasting off in space. That is an origin issue, which is nice. Blast Revere, the origin of. And you've got, again, Space Squadron, Last of the Martians. Again, you can see it doesn't show a title. We guess, of course, that the Last of the Martians is the title, but it's possible it wasn't. And on to the next one here, Blast Revere again. You've got another story. It's quite nice, but I don't know why the other characters, there was a couple of other characters, they should have got their own stories as well. That would have been nice. Sort of evened it out a bit. They also include these. Pioneer of the Alexa something. Famous explorers of space. They always have these ones. General Alfred Hastings. And on to Space Squadron there. And again, no issue number. Nobody's had this. Look at that. That's quite a lot on their bottom, isn't it? Space Demons, Terror Below, Many Amazing Adventures, The Fighting Rocket Men, Space Adventure Squadron. And you got there. Weirdly, it was just called Space Squadron. It wasn't called Jet Dixon or anything, or Captain, but it was just called Space Squadron. I suppose, to be fair, it is Space Squadron on there, not Jet Dixon. That would be weird, wouldn't it, calling something on the thing? But however, all the way through it always has Captain Jet Dixon of the Space Squadron. Who's this one? Oh, I was going to say the artwork's there. There was a bit of Joe Manili in the Space Squadron ones. In this one, that definitely is not Joe Manili. You've got Space Demons. There was also things like Space Vultures or something, and they were, I don't know, Space Moons or something. There was a Planet Moon. Planet Moon is mentioned at the front, which I think is just funny. But lots of these ones, the science in some of these are pretty awful. Weird Adventures in the future. You can see it's changing. Obviously, science fiction did not sell as well as horror, or obviously weird adventures. Tales of the weird future. And see the Space Squadron trapped by the deadliest killers of the universe. Stories of terrifying suspense. Clearly, they were changing the theme of the comic. Now, unfortunately, that didn't save it. But still, At Water's Folly, you can see another story there. And on to the next one. And you can definitely see it's going horror. The Ring of Fire. That sounds like a song, doesn't it? Ring of Flame. It was a ring. What was it? The Ring of Flame, even. Okay. And we got on to the next one. Actually, that one changed it. Space Squadron. You can see space right in there. I don't know why they just didn't call it Weird Space Squadron or something. Weird Squadron. They could have gone for that. Weird Adventures into the Future. Why? It's very odd, isn't it? They've gone for that massive like that. Very strange. But pretty gruesome character on the front. You wouldn't want to meet him on the Dark Knight, wouldn't you? Look at he's going, obviously trying to get rid of those tentacles off him. And we're into the thing still called Space Squadron Inside, and it's Animurse. I love all those ones. I think it should be a massive book given for a listing of all these various companies that he had and all the different comics that were in part of different ones, because there were loads of them. Animurse comics. You can see down there. I think it's lovely. But on to the next, and we're going all the way through these stories. Blast Revere again. You've got another story, Blast Revere, as well as the adverts. I think it's really great they've included those. I love seeing adverts like that. Just absolutely ridiculous ones, but they're still great to see. And Space Worlds. That's what I was waiting for. Space Worlds. Again, why didn't they go for Weird Worlds or Space Weird Worlds? Something like that. Because then they went for, look, it's the Midnight Horror. And you can see it's definitely horror is kicking in the storyline. Though weirdly, they got rid of the bottom bit, which is odd. Maybe they felt that was... They also went for that slightly odd font with the weird, give it that sort of weirdness to it. But you can see it's starting to change. Definitely the storylines. And definitely with that guy, look at that guy, that good old Cyclops. Keep on, Atom Fire doesn't even stop that. You need to improve it at that point. Famous Explorers of Space, still there. Gee, it's terrific, he says. But we're finally on to Speed Carter, and the stories do improve pretty, well, a lot. But 2 years later, but again, unfortunately, no actual issue number on it. Very strange. Speed Carter Spaceman, and weirdly, again, it's called Spaceman, not Speed Carter. Maybe, obviously, that was just the top. Maybe they just... But it has Joe Manini's artwork, and I love it. And the Pirate Planet. At least there was titles in this, which is great, instead of just guessing the title. But the artwork's great, and of course, you've got the job code and all the usual information there. And even the creatures look a bit more impressive, I think, than... Here's $50. I don't think so. But look, not very good. First come, first serve. I think he's got a bit of a problem there. But Speed Carter will solve it. Speed Carter Spaceman. Look at that. That's very impressive as well, isn't it? I think that's pretty good. And for the best science fiction. I love that. Best in science fiction, I should say. Look for the Atlas seal on the cover. No, I think I'll be looking for Weird Science and EC Comics, but still. This is a massive improvement. These are just great. I love these. I mean, it's just inventive. Very sort of well-paced stories as well. Just the panels, just a great... I love that. Just going on there with his weapon there. And again, we've got another one there. Joe Manini again. Space Sentinel Spaceport. Just about made that out. But this is just great. What's that? I didn't see that one. Oh, United Planets Peace Organisation. UPPO. Okay, and on to the next story now. Major Condor. Oh, another one there. Look, now this is what I mean about inventive. This is just great, isn't it? Person, obviously, half a person. No simple stories, not a single. They're half characters. And you've got space magnets as well. He's through everything. Oh, I always wonder how brilliant Joe Manini would have been with all the 1960s and 1970s. So much, certainly Fantastic Four, Iron Man, all those sort of ones. The stories would have been amazing. Well, we'd have had Jack Kirby and Joe Manini and Steve Ditko. Perhaps. Still, look at that lovely black and white advert there again. And another Speed Carter Spaceman. And this one is again Joe Manini. So even more Joe Manini. If only it was all Joe Manini, but there's actually some really nice George Tuska and a few other great bits of artwork at the back as well. Mars, the Dying Planet, and some Mike Sekowsky. I always enjoyed his work on Justice League of America, as well as others, of course. Well, this is great. Lovely bit of artwork there. And on to the next story here. Speed Carter Spaceman. Now, there wasn't no variation in this. There were a lot of the basic stories over and over again. But I think they could have done that. That would have made it so much better. I think that having it on just one character with these very short stories just didn't really work. I think they should have had a bit more variety. Obviously, you've got the variety here, Traitor from Mars, and also Famous Explorers of Space number 5. This one's James Falcon, 1990 to 2043. And finally, we get to the final one, The Thing in Outer Space. Obviously, a nice little bit of horror there as well, I guess. And finally, at the back, The Creators. I think this is a great section. It's really good to have some biographies. I must admit, I wish there was a little bit more information about many of these artists. But sometimes, of course, they didn't know their birth or when they died. And I think, sadly, all of them are actually dead. Let's have a quick check on the back. I think, yes. Oh, I guess that's the case. George Tuska obviously gets quite a big section, but even died 2009. Perhaps not the best of Atlas comic libraries. I think this one is going to certainly be my sort of average books. I doubt if it's going to be the worst. I'm certain there will be some that I'm not particularly happy with, but it's definitely not the best. Obviously, Venus for me is number 1, and of course the Joe Manini one. And I'm certain the Al Williamson one will be amazing as well. So I'm really looking forward to that one. But in the Days of the Rockets, I'm really glad it's come out. Great to see the stories of Jet Dixon and Speed Carter. And of course, some brilliant Joe Manini artwork. I love any book that's got Joe Manini artwork. Most frustrating thing, of course, with this book is that I had to buy it from the States. It's always the way. It seems to be the first one came out. That was readily available in the UK. Unfortunately, after that, they've all unfortunately not been distributed. You always see it says US import. So it takes a bit of time to get. And unfortunately, also results sometimes in a bit of damage of the book. Still, Great little series, Atlas Comics Library, number 3. Quality book all the way through. I mean, you can't criticise the quality of the brilliant introduction. Stories up and down, I have to say, quality. I say generally the artwork. The restoration, I think, is absolutely first rate as ever. I really, really think it's as good as you're ever going to get. Nicely cleaned up without really reducing it down into sort of a super modern style. I love it. Absolutely love this. So, totally recommended book if you're into science fiction and also, of course, Atlas Comics.